Hi everyone, in this video we'll be modeling a very simple low poly character. If you'd like to use the reference images I created, you can download those from the link in the description. Okay, in this new Blender project, I'd like to get rid of the default camera and light, so I'm going to select those both, and then press X and delete. And then I'd like to bring in the reference images, so I'll press N to open up the properties panel, and down at the bottom here we have background images. I'll just fold that out and say add image. And I'm going to open up my front view image, and then I want to add in a second image. Let me just fold this, and this will be the side image. Alright, so we can set the view axis for the front image to be front, and the axis for the side image to be right. So now, as you probably know, we can press 5 on the numpad to toggle between perspective and orthographic view mode, and we have to be in orthographic mode to be able to see the images. So I'll make sure my view is set to orthographic, and then I can just press 1 to view from the front and 3 to view from the side. Okay, just to clean up the interface a little bit, let's press N once again to now close the properties panel, and I'll press T to close the tool shelf. Can then go into front view, and I'm going to select the cube object, press Tab to go into edit mode, and I want to add in a vertical loop cut with Ctrl R, like so. Can right click to make sure that's positioned at the center, and I want to delete the left half of the cube so that I can add in a mirror modifier. So with a box select, we could try select all of these vertices, but be careful of course if we're in solid shading mode, because then these back vertices won't be selected. So we should in fact first go into wireframe mode by pressing Z, and then if we do a box select, it will select all of the vertices. We can then press X to delete, and let's just delete all of the faces on this half of the cube. Now I'll head over to the modifiers panel and add in a mirror modifier and just enable clipping so that these central vertices can't get torn apart. Okay, let's select everything with A, and just grab this, move it up to the base of the legs, and I'll select just the top vertices and drag these up to the shoulders. I then want to add in a couple of horizontal loop cuts so that we can start defining the shape of the torso. So I'll press Ctrl R and then 3, which while in loop cut mode won't change our view, but rather just add in 3 new loop cuts. And we can left click to confirm those, and then right click to just leave them in their default position. And I'll now go into side view and press A to deselect all of those and B to box select just these over here and drag those to about where I think they should be. And then I'll continue this process of pressing A to deselect the currently selected vertices and B to box select the next group. And like so, I'll just go through and position these. Alright, something vaguely like that should be okay. We'll also of course want to line these up from front view, so let's head over there, and I'll just grab each of these vertices and drag them in to roughly match the reference. Alright, press Z to go into shaded view. Let's just have a look around. It's looking nice. I want to smooth things out a little bit though, so Ctrl R to add in a loop cut vertically like so, and I'll then press Alt right click along this edge, and then Alt shift right click to select the other entire edge. And so now we have all of these faces along the side selected, and then I'll press S to enter scale mode, and then Y to lock this along the Y axis and just thin it slightly like so. You can also go into side view to have a look at this, and that looks about right. Maybe if we go into wireframe mode, we can see the reference a bit better, and we can just drag this out a little bit so that it sort of matches the shape I've left for the armhole there. The next thing I'd like to do is extrude out the neck. So let me just change my view angle a little bit so that I can select this top face, and I'll press E to extrude the neck out. And from front view, we can just adjust these vertices a little bit to match up better. Something like that. And from side view as well. Let me just grab these and just something like that looks decent. Okay, going into front view, let's now shift our focus to the legs. So I'll grab these vertices over here and just bring them down and a little closer together to form the sort of nether regions of our character. And then I'll grab these and move them up to make this line of the leg. And then we'll want to even things out a little bit with the rest of these vertices. So I'll just move these up, like so, just so that they flow a little bit better. And just keep on adjusting, like so, and maybe bring these down a little bit. Something like that should be good. Then I'm going to go into face mode with Control Tab and select face, and just select this big fat leg face over here. And from front view, I'll extrude that down. Just left click, let me zoom out a bit, scale it, and bring it all the way down to the base of the legs, and just rotate it so that it's roughly flat with the ground, like so. Alright, I'll press Control Tab to switch back to vertex mode, and then Control R to add in a new loop cut right at the top of the legs here, so that from side view I can just come in and define some of the shape of the buttocks. Alright, and I'll maybe move this down a little bit so that I've got space to add in a new loop cut over here, just to round things out slightly. Then from front view, I'm going to press Control R, add in a loop cut at the top of the knee, and just rotate this to straighten it out a bit, and maybe scale that in slightly. And then I'll add in another one at the base of the knee, and just scale, rotate, and position that. And then let me add in a new loop cut for the thighs. So this should be just fattened out a little bit, as should maybe these vertices over here. Something like so. And then probably want a loop cut for the calves as well. And let me adjust all of this from side view. So I'll drag the calves out. And maybe we want one edge loop for the knee itself. So I can just give that a slight bend. And fatten the thighs a bit. Something like that looks good. We can maybe just go into shaded mode and just have a look around. The bum does look a little bit weird, but we won't be seeing the character without his clothes on too often, hopefully. So we can maybe help things a bit by just pressing Control R and adding in a loop cut all the way down the side. And then with that loop selected, I'll press Alt S, which gives me the Shrink Fatten tool, and I'll just fatten it ever so slightly so that things remain rounded out. And then we can come around here, and you can see this face down the inside of the leg is very flat. So I'm just going to press Control Tab, go into edge mode, and I'm going to Alt right click on this edge here to select that whole loop, and Alt Shift right click to select this other one, and then just press S, Y, and scale it a little bit on the Y axis. And then I'm going to deselect these edges at the top, and then continue to scale it in a little bit more along the Y axis, and deselect these, scale it in a little bit more, just so that it sort of slowly becomes a little bit more round. Alright, and we've got this weird protrusion coming out of the bum and out of the other end as well. So let's go into wireframe mode and just fix that. Select all of these and just match it up slightly. All right. I'll fiddle a little bit more, but this is mostly okay, I think. Okay, we can now maybe add in a new loop cut all the way down the side of the character, and press Alt S just to fatten this once again. And if you want to be able to make smaller adjustments, you can hold down Shift while you're dragging the mouse, and that will make this a little bit easier to control. So just like that, looks good. And maybe let's select everything with A and press W to bring up the Specials menu, and just ask it to shade smooth. And now we can see what it looks like without all of those hard edges. Alright, let's think about the arm. So from side view, I'm going to just zoom in a bit here and go into wireframe mode. And we want to add a loop cut along here, and I'll just scale that out. And we can now just go and match these vertices up to the shape of the armhole. Alright. And then in face mode, I'm just going to select these faces here, and I'm going to press Shift D to duplicate them, and I'm going to move them along the Y-axis just to line up with this drawing of the arm that I have from the side here. Then from front view, I'm going to extrude this out, just rotate it like so to line up with the reference, and extrude it again to the elbow, like so. And I'll double tap R to enter trackball rotation mode, and just rotate this so that it's pointing forward slightly, because as we can see from the side reference, this needs to extend out, like so. Rotate that a bit, scale it a little bit, and then extrude it down to the wrist. Alright, and I'll add in a loop cut for the forearm, and one for the sort of bicep, I guess. Alright, and let me go into vertex mode quickly, just so that I can adjust these a little bit better. Okay, I'll do some of these individually. Just make sure that this transition to the shoulder is a little bit smoother. I can maybe grab some of these and change them like so. That's looking a lot better, I think. It's still lining up roughly from side view. So we now want to attach the arm onto the actual body. So I'll go back into face mode. Let me change back to shaded. And I'm going to select all of these faces here, and also all of the faces at the back of the arm, and press X and just delete all of those. So we now have an actual armhole to attach the arm to. And I'll hover over one of the faces of the arm and just press L to select this whole shape. And then I'm going to go into my snapping options down here and change the snap element to vertex. I'll then press G to move the arms around, and I'll hold down Control, which is going to enable snapping, and just move this over one of the vertices of the arm. That's not quite right. Let me do this from another angle. Alright, just so that it snaps like so. And then if I go into vertex mode, you can see that these aren't actually joined together yet. So we want to select everything, press W once again for the specials menu, and just say remove doubles, which will merge those vertices together that are on top of each other, so the arm is now properly attached to the rest of the body. Let's very quickly do something about the hands. So I'm just going to be making some basic mitten hands, not worrying about the fingers. So I'll left click over the reference here to place the 3D cursor, Shift A, add in a cube at that point, and just scale it down. And from side view, I can just put this over my reference, and quickly position these vertices. Just something like that. And from front view, place these at the fingertips, and these sort of at the wrist. I'll press Ctrl R to add in a loop somewhere at the base of the fingers, and then another loop here, sort of for the knuckles, I guess. And another one just in the middle of the hand. And from side view again, I'll press Ctrl R, add in 2 loop cuts along the length of the hand, and just use these to roughly shape the fingers. Alright. The sides of the hands are a little bit thick at the moment, so I'll just hover over one of the edges here and Alt-right click to select all of the edges along the side, Ctrl E to bring up the edges menu, and just choose edge slide, and just slide this in slightly. And I'll do the same thing with this loop here. Edge slide that in a tiny bit, and on the other side I'll repeat that, like so, and with this one as well, just sort of like that, so that the top here gets rounded out a bit, so it will connect more nicely to the arm. We can now press Shift A and add in a new cube for the thumb, and let's scale this down and just position this from our different angles. Alright, something like that. And I'll extrude this up once more, scale it up a little bit. Something like that looks okay. Let's just have a look around. Maybe we want to bring this in slightly more towards the hand. Okay, so now we just need to join the top of the thumb to the hand. The rest of the body is sort of getting in my way a bit, so I'll press L while hovering over one of the vertices to select it, and press H to hide it temporarily. And we can then zoom in on the hand here. And I want to connect this face to this one over here. Now, currently they're not really lined up at all, so I can maybe select this and use trackball rotation with double tap R to just rotate it a tiny bit and move these up just so that they're roughly lining up. And then go into face mode and just select both of these faces and delete them. And then in vertex mode, I'll select this vertex and that vertex and Alt-M to bring up the merge menu and just merge at their centers. And I'll repeat that for each of these. Alright, so this last one here, Alt-M, merge at center. Alright, so now it is attached, and you can just go around and do some last adjustments. Alright, let's now unhide the rest of the body with Alt-H, and I'm going to go into face mode and select these faces on the bottom of the arm, and also these at the top of the hand, and delete those. And we can then select the hand, move it over, and I'll go into vertex mode, Alt-right click along this edge loop to select all of those, Alt-shift right click to select the loop at the base of the arm, and I'm going to press spacebar to bring up the search menu, and I'm going to search for the bridge edge loops command, and I'll press enter to select that, and that's just join these edge loops up. We can maybe rotate this a little bit just so that it lines up slightly better, and we can also come in manually and just fix some of the twisting that's going on. But mostly that's looking okay. The hand is still flat shaded while the rest of the body is smooth shaded, so let's select everything, press W and shade smooth. We can maybe quickly press tab to go into object mode and just rotate around and admire our handiwork. It's a little bit ugly admittedly, but this should be okay for the purpose of this video at least. Let's now quickly come down and do the feet. So I'll once again left click to position the 3D cursor and add in a cube. Scale this down and then make it a little bit broader on the x-axis. And from side view, position this here. And bring that out to the heel, add in a loop and bring this up, something like so. We'll want it to be fairly narrow at the heel, and then in the middle of the foot it starts getting a bit wider. Now I'd like to join this face to these 4 faces at the bottom of the leg. So we'll need to make sure that there are 4 faces here, otherwise it won't line up. So let me add a loop along here, and also a loop down the length of the foot. I'll just fatten that out a bit. So we've now got 4 faces. I'll delete these. Well, let me select these ones at the bottom of the leg as well first, and then delete all of them. Go into vertex mode, Alt-right click to select all of those, Alt-shift right click to select these here, and then I'll use my bridge tool once again. Alright, it's a bit of a messy connection at the moment, but we'll worry about that in a moment. I'll now add in a loop all the way down here. And let me just press S, Z, and 0 to flatten that out completely. And I'll grab these, scale them in a little bit. Maybe add another loop here for the toes. Alright, and we can make a slight arch of the foot here. and just get the shape of the heel a little bit better. And then I'm going to select all of these vertices, press W, and smooth it once. I'm also going to make sure that it's shaded smooth as well. And then let's go into shaded mode and just look around. I can maybe grab these here, rotate it a bit along the Z-axis so that the feet stick out at a bit of an angle. And then I'll just fix up this strange twisting that's happening there. That looks a lot better. With the foot done, I'm going to press Tab to go into object mode, and then Shift-C, which is going to reposition the 3D cursor at the center of the scene, and then I'll press Shift-A to add in a new cube object. So since we were in object mode, we now have two separate objects, this cube, which is going to act as our head, and the actual body mesh. So selecting the head object, I'll press Tab to go into edit mode on that, and press W and subdivide smooth. Then I'm going to go into wireframe mode and just select these vertices on the side here, delete those, so we've just got one half of it remaining, and I'll add a mirror modifier and enable clipping and subdivision surface. Alright, so if I now move this up, we can try shape this roughly to the shape of the head. Let me look at this from side view. Okay, getting close. Let's press Z to have a look in shaded mode. Just need to pull some of these out, and that's roughly okay, I suppose. So I'm now going to apply the mirror modifier, but we actually have to be in object mode for that. So I'll press Tab, apply the mirror modifier, apply the subdivision surface, and then press Tab to go back into edit mode, and once again delete one half of the head, and then press Tab to go into object mode. And with the head selected, I'll shift right click to select the body, and then press Ctrl J to merge these two together. Alright, so we can press Tab to go into edit mode, and we now have these as a single object. And I want to now join the head to the neck. So let me just select these neck vertices over here and bring these down. So these are two faces here, which we can perhaps join to these two faces over here. So I'll press X to delete those faces. I should also select these, delete those, and go into vertex mode, and alt-right click to select these two edge loops, and I'll use the bridge tool once again to join those together. Alright, we can then adjust this a little bit. And I want to grab this and bring it out slightly, just to fatten the neck, just so that we can get the neck flowing more smoothly into the head. Let's select everything and press Shade Smooth as well. And we maybe want one more loop cut along the neck. Just something like that should be good. So if we have a look around, that's looking fairly nice. There may be a few small tweaks we can do. So, for example, the leg is a little bit flat along the front, so I'll alt-right click along here, Control E, edge slide, and just bring this in ever so slightly. And same thing with this loop down the side of our character, and just edge slide this in slightly. And I'll grab some of these vertices along the front of the torso and just even things out a bit. And maybe along the arm, these could be a little bit better spaced, so I'll slide some of the loops. Alright, and from the back, we can also grab some of these and just define the spine region a little bit better. Maybe grab some of these vertices along the spine and just move them in slightly. Alright, and we can do the same thing that we did along the front of the character, just sliding some of these edge loops in. Alright, that's looking a bit better. And some of these arm vertices are still a little bit twisted from when we added the hand on. So you can just manually adjust some of those and get that looking a little bit better. Okay, last thing that I want to do is just add in some loops in the areas that are going to be bending. So basically the elbow and the knee. So want a loop along here and just on the other side of the elbow edge loop, just so that it can deform a little bit better when we actually start rigging. And the knee, we've already added these in, so I'll just bring these maybe a little bit closer and can add in some additional loops to just smooth out the geometry if need be. I'm not terribly sure what happened over here, some sort of disaster. I'll just scale that back up. Alright, maybe another loop along the thigh here. I'll bring this one up slightly. Alright, very last thing, just going to add in one more edge loop here under the arms, just so that we've got a little extra geometry for the underarm here to help when we are lifting the arm up with our animations. Alright, that is it for the time being. In the next episode we'll be rigging the character, but until then, cheers.